Alright, it's been a few hours. This glue is dry, so we're going to find out if my cavalier thought of not using a big old caul will bite me or not. See if we can lift these off now. Out of the way. And this, and then we can check things, and then we'll pop those nails, because that's the very first thing I'm concerned about. Pop that out. Looks like we got decent contact, like I thought we would. Looks good to me. Looks good. Alright, let's pop those dang nails, because I don't like them there anyway. And they are no longer necessary. Get my little protector. Pull them out. Let's try to be a little careful. I'm going to pull them out lengthwise so we don't shatter too much of that grain. Okay. Uh-oh, that might be a bit much, so I might have to grab something a bit thinner. Yeah, I put that one in a little far, so I need to find a little strip of metal, I think, to get around that. I'll go grab something. I'll be right back. Alright, just a little scrap of aluminum we'll put here. Take the hammer here. Try to be very careful. Get it just started. Do not want to use the metal for that, really. I would much prefer the wooden thing, so I can go at it this angle. There we go. Bink. Okay. No damage to our fretboard. Good. So that's its final form. I do feel like it's a little dull there yet. I may do a little more polishing on here. But the next thing I want to do is get the shim on. The shim goes in here, because that'll be the next bit that gets shaped, or the final bit to be shaped. So I'm just going to cut a bit of this here neoprene. Okay, now it's dovetail shaped so that when it's on, put it on there, and then I can put a couple of cauls here to make sure that it seats nicely. Alright, we are now configured. I've got wedge, a small bit of neoprene for a cushiony caul to sort of try to even the pressure across this thin bit. A caul that is customly fit to that shape, that dovetail, that dovetail. Okay, and then I'm going to have this caul on this side with some neoprene here, and then I can grab here with a quick grip like so to get pressure right where I want it up there, and then I can take a small clamp, parallel clamp, and get it here to get the pressure in the center. I might do two there. That might be the easiest way to go about that. I could probably go like this as well. That might work fine. I might do that. Maybe do that. That might be easier to deal with the clamping. Okay, so it's just going to be a lot of pieces that I need to keep in the right order. And so we'll just flip up like this, and we'll start the gluing. Start the gluing. So let that glue chooch, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so now while I wait for the shim's glue to dry, I'm getting ready for the other end of the fretboard with the nut area. I'm just going to get the glue squeeze out that managed to find its way in there. And just do it very gently with a very sharp chisel, just trying to remove the the squeeze out. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work quite well, I think. And the rest of the squeeze out that's running down the length of it will be no problem. I didn't do side dots yet. I'm not so sure if I'm going to. Maybe I will. Maybe I will do side dots. I have to decide what I'm going to do there. But that's really like the only other ornamentation needed. I've also got my headstock plate ready to get glued into place. I've also got set up to begin making the nut blank as well. So when I get I think I'll do the headstock plate. I think I'll do the headstock plate next. We'll just start getting that onto here. I want to bevel this edge first to So before I put the headstock plate on, because it's got the right angle now, I checked that, it closes up here nicely, that's good, as I wished. We need to make a nut, or at least get the nut blank roughly to size. So I've got corian again. I did that on the 335 and it seems to work fine. I could get other nut material too, but this seems to be okay. But what I want to do is get a rough idea of how tall I want it. So I'm just going to take a regular pencil, which will add at least an eighth to the overall, which will be way more than I need, and I'm going to make a quick mark across here, and that gives me a rough idea of how large to make the nut blank. So I'm just going to start with this, and then I'll work out final shaping. So over we go to the bandsaw to cut that out. Alright, so on the bandsaw here we just have our little zero clearance thing and our corian blank. I'll just cut off that line a bit, just a little ways off the line. Leave myself a little room. And it's that easy. It's just that easy. Take this over to the milling machine and thin it down to 4 millimeters. Alright, we're over at the mill here. I've got it in the vise already, sticking up a little ways. And we're just going to knock this down until it hits, it's 4 millimeters, but that translates to 157 thou, I think it was. Let me double check that real fast. Let's see what it is. Four millimeters is 157.5 thou. Alright, so we're going to head for 157 thou is what we're going to do, because I'll just do it with my dial caliper instead of the digital. And that's, you know, it doesn't have to be that precise, but 157 thou would be great. We'll head for it. We'll start in a quick little, get the vise set tight enough. We'll go here. And I want to climb, I think, on this, so we'll start here. And I'm going to zero it here. I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to zero it. And we'll start out. We're at 245 right now. So if I can find that's a zero right there. Yeah, we'll call that my zero. And we're at 245, and I want to go 157. That means it's less than 100 thou, so we'll take 60 right now, and then I'll do a measurement. pardon my brain again here for just a second. We're at 159. I'm going to call that good. So that is plenty good. We'll pop you out here and take a look. Yeah, those corners are not awesome, but they're not horrible. We'll live with them. Okay, so that's enough room for lapping. You probably can't see it if it's not in focus, but that is basically what I needed dimensionally speaking. Let's check it real quick now that it is out of the vise. Yeah, 156, 157, so that's fine. So that's our nut blank right there. Okay, so I'm at my nut blank here. I've got a little 220 grit sandpaper stuck to this block, which will be perfect. I'm just going to get kind of a rough fit, a basic, simple fit right now. Gets rid of the milling machine marks and gets things settled nice and flatly the way it should be. I might actually do the bevel of the crown as well while I'm at it, just so I remember which way's front. And just take those, that pretty much killed off the milling marks. Yeah, pretty well. And then we'll go to this side and do the other face just a tiny bit here. And then do a quick little fit on which way fits better. Right now there's a tiny bit of wobble because I'm not entirely certain that this, well, that this thing is cut. Oh yeah, that's it. This is not cut square. I can see it now. So if I flip it around, yeah, it's just a little shaky, a little less shaky. That's very shaky. This is almost not shaky. So I'm just going to play around with this angle a tiny bit so that it will just have a perfect seating happen. Getting there. Just keep going here. So that the mating face of this is beautiful. Ooh, we're very close now. Okay. And that way everything else is off a solid foundation. Very near. Can barely move it right now. Almost indetectable. I could probably leave it alone and it'd be fine. I think I made that last try worse. So. Ooh, there it is. Yeah, that's it. Let's check it without any debris in the way. Yep, that's perfect. That is a very good fit. Okay, then we put this on here. This is kind of to be my clamping aid to make sure I put this in the right place. Yeah, that'll hold nicely. Okay, good. So I'm going to leave that there for now as a spacer. It's way taller than I need it right now, which is fine. But that's my sort of spacer to get the ability to clamp this guy down. So I'm going to grab some glue. And we're going to glue this guy down after I clear it off with some acetone. 1 second. All right, a little bit of acetone. And just clean it up a bit so that the glue has every fighting chance to stick. Okay. Let that flash off a bit. And I will grab some Sam glue, and I just need spreader. I'll use this. Gluey glue. Okay. Just spread it on the bench. That's good. That'll work. Yeah. Should have used a brush. I'm gonna go get a brush instead. This doesn't work. And because I lost most of the glue to the bench. Whoops. Oh well. And I'm going to I'm going to wax this real fast so that I get a little glue on it. Let's just do real quickly a little bit of the waxy wax here. Little goes a very, very, very long way. If that's a ton. That'll be a lot going a lot ways. And then I can bathe this in some denatured alcohol to get rid of any of that later. Let's clean it up a bit here. Now it's safe to just sit here. If I can hang on to the stupid thing. Flip it that way is the good way right there. Okay. And then we can just slide our, hang on to it. Try not to get a bunch of glue on my polished fretboard here. Okay, capillary action is working with me right now, so that's good. Like so, and now we can just take a couple of clamps. I think we're in need of somewhat of a call here real quickly. Can I throw one together fast? Probably. Let's just go with this piece about yay wide. There's my call. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. And now I'm just going to put one up here real quick on a quick rip. That needs to be secured well. Looks great, though a bit loose. Let's slide you down some here. That's better. That's much better. Okay. Fall forward, eh? Let's get this clamp right there. Look good. Yeah, that looks fine. So, pop that one off. Take this one on. Right, like that. This ought to, yeah, that ought to give it some good chooch. I'm gonna try to balance the weight of this on this side here. Okay. And I think, yeah, that's in there. It's a really well seated nut. That's good. That's going to work fine. Okay, we've got headstock plate on now as well. Cool. Let that dry. Alright, I think the shim glue is dry enough to release, not the headstock yet, but the shim is. So let's peel that one off. One clamp at a time. Peel off the neoprene, which I did absolutely glue to. I knew it would. I'm not surprised. Just gonna have to come in there with a little bit of scrubbing, clear that out. Not a big deal at all. And I'm gonna leave that to sit a little bit more. That did go really well though. That stuck to it pretty well. It adhered decently. Just need to make a slightly better foot there. A little bit better base. I do have a tiny gap there that I can fill with some sawdust. I think. This head looks great though. Okay, so we're gonna call that a day, I think, and let the headstock plate dry overnight. It's 6 now, so yeah, it's dinner time. So, and there's not much more I can do to this until those clamps are off anyway. So yeah, pretty good progress today. Not bad for taking a little while off. And there we go. Bring you back when we're ready to do the next steps. Okay, it's the next day. This glue is most certainly dry. Let's get these clamps off of here, and then we can start looking at the next steps after this here. Oh, I'm always stronger when I put the clamps on. That's so strange. Okay, we're going to need a little bit of shaping of the back, but there. Headstock plate is on. That's good. Oh, that fell out. That's okay. So that'll work out well. If I absolutely had to, if I didn't like how thick I left the nut here, I could easily cut another nut. But I think we're good. So that's that. Oh yeah, that is a really nice fit. Okay, so that's that bit. I guess I could have polished this first, but it's okay, I can polish it here too. I may do a little polish on the fretboard anyways, but so what I need to do next is a flush trimming. It does overhang. Yeah, it does overhang just a tiny bit, so I'm going to put a little something down on this to raise it up just a tiny bit past the fretboard so I don't scratch that up. But yeah, I think I'll get the headstock plate flush trimmed, and then we can look at finish shaping the neck. We might put frets on today, boys and girls. That'll be cool. So, alright. Yeah, I am in good spirits. I am pleased with what we've got so far. So I'm going to get set up to flush trim the headstock plate next. Alright, so we're just going to grab a couple of these little thin 1/8 inch thick strips that I've got. I kind of leave hanging around because I'm pack rat. But they work well as little shims, all kinds of little useful things. So I just put a little double stick tape on each end of it here. And that'll be my spacer support here for one of those, and we'll do another one just because two will be better balanced. And do that one and do this one. Like so, and then just a little sticky stick. I'll show you why I'm doing this here in just a second. I need to be able to hold the headstock plate flat against the table. So the fretboard being 1/4 inch thick and radius, if I had done the headstock plate before I had done the fretboard, then I wouldn't need to do this. So that might be some future considerations. Though putting this on here like this is a fairly minor solution to a very, very minor problem. It's not really a big deal. And I find that I prefer, I guess I could put the headstock plate on first, leaving it long, and then cut a nut slot, but this let me not have to cut a nut slot. Not that that's a big problem, I have done so in the past, but this works. Many ways to end up with an angry, skinless cat, or something like that. And now when I set it down, the fretboard isn't touching, and I can hold this flat and run a flush trim bit around this face. There's so much crap on my bench, I'm going to have to fix that. But we're set up now, I can go flush trim this. So we're going to head over to the router table and do just that. Okay, so we are set now. I've got the flush trim bit here. I can hold my pattern just like this, and we can do our little flush trimming just like that. I want to be very careful with the climb cutting and making sure I stay on my neck and not fall off, and so we're going to do this very slowly and methodically, as carefully as I can. So there's nothing to it but getting after it, so away we go. Okay, so we had a tiny challenge here that I should have been paying more attention to, but it didn't. I don't know if you can see this, but I will try to get a bit of focus here for you. So I'm going to come in here. You see that little ledge right there? Maybe that focus helps. I don't know if it does, but that little ledge made this part a little narrower than down here. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'll be able to taper the end of the nut into it, so visually it won't even look different. But it's one of those little moments of, I wished I thought of that ahead of time, but I didn't. It's okay, we're going to be playing around with this a little bit anyway, so we should be all right. But I'm gonna call that a pretty good success at this point. I will take, I think I might go, no, I think it's good. So the only other bit I need to do is the peak of this is a sharp point, and I had to file it on the original, so I'm going to file this to fit that as well. But otherwise, great success, and we should be able to drill out the peg holes for it as well. So I will bring you back once I get this set up to file the little valley there. One sec. Okay, set up in the vise here, and I'm just going to flip around a couple of my go-to files for this, and just have a quick cutting session. I think I might be able to do this all with the one file, but I like a couple of these for larger roundings. Oh yeah, this is going to take a little doing. So I've got this file that's kind of wedge shaped and triangular, so it comes to a pretty good point here, but it'll take a little doing, so we'll just get after this. Cool. I can live with this. This came out good. I think I will at some point be sanding this too, so I will hold off on that. I think we're ready to drill these the tuning machine peg holes. So I'm going to pop these spacers off of here real quick, and then we'll get ready to drill. All right, we need a jig. For drilling these, I want to make sure I have no tear out or no blowout on this side if I can help it. I'm going to try to avoid as much as possible the blowing out of that exit side of the drill. So what I want to do is I want to have a backer board that holds this. So this is going to be drilled in this position, right? So I'm just going to set it onto this bit of scrap MDF. And the idea is that if I can hold it down to this really good, then the fibers on the outer edge will be well supported. So this might be a little overkill, a little elaborate, but I'm going to trace the position of this, the shape of the headstock here, onto this board, and I'm going to make a set of, this will help me to know where to locate a couple of clamping items here. So we're just going to stick the template here. This will tell me where the holes go so that I can keep whatever clamping system I need out of my way of those holes. And as long as I position it, you know, somewhat, this doesn't have to be hyper accurate. I figure, okay, so I've got the shape of the headstock drawn on here. If I can get a clamp on it, you know, where? If I can get a clamp on it up here, and maybe along this edge down here, because I don't want to clamp too hard down this area because this area raises a bit. But so you see the idea of what I'm working on here is I'm trying to come up with a way to hold this. Oh, you know what? I think I'll do it with a strip of wood across each of these, like right around in here and right around in here. I think that'll work best, rather than the other idea that I had planned. I was going to do something with some washers, but I've changed my mind now. Gotta be careful when I set that down on the bench, though, huh? Yes, I do. All right. So let's get a couple of strips of scrap that I can use as some spanning members. I'll bring you back when I find that. 1 second. Okay, so I off camera did a real quick, I made a couple of small strips about 3/4 of an inch wide, a couple inches longer than the width of the headstock. Put a couple of holes in the ends with countersinks. And I've got a couple of screws and a little bit of neoprene that I will slice down with some scissors. And we'll use these as our pads so that we're gentle to the mahogany back of the headstock, although it's already a little dinged. Let's try not to ding it more, shall we? Okay. So the idea is to take our, well, we'll use this template headstock for a second and get this little guy. This is going to be the trickiest one, I think. You know what? Let's see how bad that is anyways. So if we put you into place, can you handle? Yeah, you can handle that. That's fine. Okay, we're going to come back here. Okay. It's going to be twisted just a tiny bit, but that's minor. And that'll work there. So I'm going to get some longer screws, obviously. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So yeah, that'll work pretty well there. If I come back a little less than a ½ inch from that hole. So let's go, right about that. I'm going to grab my hammer and transfer some screw holes. This is, honestly, I'm not making a permanent jig here. This is, the reason I won't make a permanent jig is for two reasons. One, the thing I'm doing is backing up holes getting drilled. So the holes that get drilled will tear up the bottom of this, and I am certain that every headstock I do, for a while at least, until if I were doing production, this would be a worthwhile jig to build for sure. But I'm not, so it's not really worth a big old massive elaborate thing. It's just get something that'll hold this thing down. Sort of a quick and dirty jig, although it's a little more than I'd even originally planned. I was just going to double stick tape it, but I really want it clamped down good, so we're going to do it like this instead. Okay. And then the other one we're going to put over here. And I'm just going to drill it. Why not? I don't have to get too fancy here. And just get it all kind of close. There we go. And now I'll go grab some longer screws. We've got our neoprene. Yeah, we basically have ourselves our clamp. So bring you back when I'm viced and ready to set it up. I'll show you this. Hold on. So we've got our little boat paddle here. It's just a couple of screws holding things down. Hopefully hard enough to keep it. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's on there really good. Now we can take this to the drill press and drill it. I have my backing proper. And now we are set to drill the headstock. Hopefully we have little tear out because of this method. Stuff on my drill press that I should not have. And just line up with the holes and drill very slowly. The rosewood here. It's a good sign. I'm seeing the MDF there. That's good. That's a really good sign. It didn't move, which is good. And you want to go a bit into this because the drill bit is not flat on the bottom. So very good. Grab a hold of this up here so I can hang on to it a bit. There we go. I may, if I did this in a production setting, I might actually consider instead maybe CNC or a dedicated jig for just if I did one headstock style. That would make sense to do. So, but there we should have really clean holes on the other side of this. So we're going to take it back to the bench and find out whether this worked. All right. So now we'll just take our screws out here, or loosen our screws up at least, so we're nice and smooth there. Same on this side, and it's freed. Take a look. Oh, those are beautiful. Yeah, I like that. That method worked pretty well. I like it. I can live with that. So if I ever do this again, I may have to do a new bottom plate, but if I do the same headstock, I may come up with a better jig, but hey, that'll work. We could actually put the tuning machines in now, so I may just do that to get a look, but There we go. We've got basically a neck ready to, I just need to get these things flush now. Get all this stuff shaped decent. So that's what I'll do next. We'll bring you back here in just a sec. Okay, so with the headstock plate drilled, we're nearing to the point where we can finish the size of the neck. So I'm going to do that now. We're going to get the neck to its final shape. Excuse me. So we'll get the neck to the final shape. Basically, we're just bringing everything flush to the fretboard now. And I'm just going to use a spoke shave to bring the shim and I'm going to get it really close with the spoke shave, and then we'll dial things even better with some sandpaper, I think, at some point. Now I'm going to try my very, very best with this saw, and I've got a little depth gauge here to stay in the slot. First of all, it's a push. It makes the slot so much wider. Okay. Try to be very ginger here. I don't have to worry about going too deep. I just have to worry about falling out of the slot at all. And I would like to do as little of that as possible. There we go. So first thing I'm noticing right off the bat is I think that makes my slot wider than I would like it to be. So I'm going to try with a actual piece of fret wire and see what happens. Hold on. All right, I checked it with a fret wire. It's fine. There's no worry there. But it's doing some pretty serious dinging to my fretboard. We'll see. Yeah, it's doing okay. If I stop soon enough in the process, it's okay. All right, we are ready to fret this. So right before we fret it, we're going to polish it one last time. So on the blocks we've got, this would be the time I should have done the polish. The first set of polish was premature, so I'm just going to polish the fretboard. I'm not going to polish the headstock yet because I'm still making up my mind on whether or not I'm doing a headstock inlay. And if I am, there's no sense polishing it because I'm just going to have to polish it again, like I'm doing here. So we do learn our lessons eventually. It just takes me a little while. So this is going to stay at 220 until I figure out what the heck I'm doing there. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do an inlay, but until I figure out what, stays alone. We're just going to do the fretboard, and I'm going to go all the way back to 320 because there are enough kind of rough scratches and dings that I want to really give it what first. So I'm just going to do it like we did the last time. Grit change, and I'll spare you the boringness here. We're doing what I did the last time.